For over 50 years, the world has believed a comforting story. A song of hope, written for a little boy whose parents were falling apart. The world sang along, believing it was a gesture of pure kindness. But for the boy at the center of it, the truth is far more complex. At 63, Julian Lennon is finally speaking his mind, revealing a perspective that challenges a cherished piece of music history, and it's not what anyone expected. The story of Julian Lennon has always been told through the lens of others. He is the son of a Beatle, the inspiration for a famous song, a figure more known for his lineage than his own life. At the center of this narrative is a single piece of music, a song that the whole world knows, Hey Jude. To the public, it is an anthem of comfort, a song that brings people together, a melody that promises that everything will be all right. But for Julian, the reality has always been more complicated. The song was written by Paul McCartney in 1968. This was a time when Julian's world was falling apart. His father, John Lennon, had left him and his mother, Cynthia. Julian was only 5 years old, a young boy who did not understand why his father was gone. McCartney was a close family friend. He saw the pain in the young boy's eyes. He wrote the song to offer words of encouragement, a way to tell a young boy that everything would be all right. The gesture seemed kind. The song felt like a gift. The world accepted it as a simple act of kindness from one friend to another. They sang along without knowing the full story. But a gift can also be a reminder. For Julian, that reminder was of the deepest hurt of his life. The song brought fame. It brought money. But it also brought a shadow. Every time he heard those opening notes, he was transported back to that moment, to the moment his father left, to the moment his family broke apart. The world saw a song of hope. Julian saw a marker of his own tragedy. This is the complexity he has carried with him for over 50 years. A song that made millions feel good. A song that made him feel the weight of his past. But what happens when a gift of comfort becomes a constant reminder of a painful past? For Julian, it is a question he has had to live with for decades. To understand Julian's feelings, it is necessary to understand the landscape of his childhood. While the world saw the Beatles as a family, Julian and his mother were never part of that picture. When John Lennon left, he did not just leave his wife, he left his son. Julian has described his life as being very much on the outside of the Beatles' inner circle. From the ages of 3 to 5, a period of tremendous change, it was just him and his mother. His father was gone. The family he knew had shattered. The Beatles continued on, but Julian was not part of that world. He was on the outside looking in. This was a time of profound disruption and sadness. The divorce was not just a legal matter, it was the collapse of a young boy's entire world. When Julian later spoke about the song in that time, he described it as a point of complete change and complete disruption and complete darkness. These are strong words. They paint a picture of a childhood that was anything but easy. While McCartney's intentions were good, the song was born from a tragedy. The man who wrote it was trying to console him, but the man who left was his father. This is the central conflict of Julian's life. He was given a gift from one man, while being abandoned by another. The song Hey Jude became a permanent, public marker of that private pain. It was a reminder that his family had fallen apart. A reminder that he was the child left behind. The world could not see this. They only saw the music. They only heard the comforting words. They did not know the little boy who was trying to understand why his father had left. Julian has lived with this dichotomy for his entire life. This public marker of private pain is a difficult thing to carry. Julian reveals he has a love-hate relationship with the song, a duality that defines his complicated history with his father and the band. As the years went on, Julian's relationship with his father remained strained and distant. The bond that should have existed between father and son never fully formed. In a 1975 interview, John Lennon himself admitted a painful truth. He believed his son liked Paul McCartney more than him. John said, "I have the funny feeling he wishes Paul was his dad." This was a devastating admission from a father who was more of an icon than a parent. Think about that statement. A father admitting that his own son might prefer another man. It reveals a deep insecurity, a recognition of failure. John knew he had not been there for his son. He knew that McCartney had been the one to offer comfort. He knew that his son had grown up without him. While McCartney was the one who offered comfort in the form of a song, his father was the one who was not there. Julian later revealed that he saw his father only about 10 times between the ages of 5 and the time of John's death in 1980. That is a number that speaks volumes. 10 times in 15 years. A childhood defined by absence, a father who was a legend to the world, but a stranger to his own son. John was not there to raise him. He was not there to provide the love a child needs. The man who became his father figure was his absent father's friend. This is a painful reality. The world saw a song of comfort. But Julian lived the reality of a father who had left him. He lived a life of growing up in the shadow of a legend. A shadow that offered no warmth. A shadow that only reminded him of what he had lost. But an absent father is not the only thing he inherited. He also inherited a complex legacy of silence and secrets that is only now beginning to surface. The public perception of the relationship between Julian Lennon and Paul McCartney has often been one of closeness. McCartney was the Uncle Paul who was there for him. The man who wrote him a song. The man who offered comfort when his father left. But the reality is that their relationship is more complicated than a simple family bond. As he has grown older, Julian has stated that while they are close, we're not that close. Their lives have been separate, bound by history but not necessarily by daily interaction. They share a past. They share a connection through John. But they are not the close family that the public imagines. The most revealing moment in their recent history came during a chance meeting at a London airport. This was not a planned encounter. It was a moment of coincidence. McCartney promised Julian something profound. He said that he had stories about his father, John, that he had never told anyone else. He promised a private sit-down to share them. "He keeps telling me I've got so many stories about your dad that I've never told anybody," Julian said. This promise of untold stories reveals a hidden chapter in the Lennon-McCartney saga. It suggests that there is more to the story than what has been written, more than what the documentaries have shown, more than what the biographies have revealed. Why were these stories never told? What could they contain? The promise itself is a revelation. It suggests that the relationship between John and Paul was more complex than the public knows, that there are secrets that have been kept for decades, and that now, finally, Julian might be the one to hear them. What could these untold stories be? And why are they being revealed to Julian now, after all these years? At 63, Julian Lennon is finally telling his side of the story. No longer the silent boy in the shadow of his famous father. He is speaking his truth. His recent interviews have been remarkably candid. He has not hidden the complexity of his feelings, nor has he tried to rewrite history to appease public sentiment. He has acknowledged his gratitude for McCartney's gesture. He has thanked him for the song. He has recognized the kindness behind it, but simultaneously, he has revealed the pain it brought him. He has spoken about his love for his father. He has described the profound hurt of his abandonment. He has not chosen one side over the other. He has presented the full picture, the good and the bad, the love and the pain. This is the story of a man who has spent a lifetime navigating an impossible legacy. He was a boy who inspired a song of hope, but he grew up in the shadow of his father's absence. He was a son who was left behind, yet he was forever linked to the family that his father chose over him. The recent documentaries and interviews have simply highlighted this fact. Julian was never really part of the inner circle of his own father's life. His story is a counterpoint to the narrative of the Beatles as a family, a reminder that the legend often hides a more complicated truth. As Julian approaches the meeting with Paul McCartney, he stands on the brink of discovering the final pieces of a puzzle that has defined his life. The truth, he may soon discover, was only half the story. The rest has been waiting for him all along, held by the man who once wrote him a song of comfort, a song of pain, a song that has followed him his entire life. Which part of this story surprised you the most?